welcome to another episode of Memories to Matches. Matt Zion here on the Jabba Radio YouTube channel. We're going to be reviewing another match. So before we get going into this, I do want to say thank you to James Bowen. You can go ahead and check out his YouTube channel down below in the description. He gave us, he's the one actually did on Reckless Eating our Oven Mania intro. Still one of my favorite intros we've ever had before, but he made a nice little throwback, like WWF intro to Memories to Matches. So thank you, James. It's awesome. This episode's a little different. Now I'd say this is one of the other more noteworthy matches, probably the most noteworthy match of the entire WWF versus ECW WCW Alliance era. This was Jeff Hardy versus Rob Van Dam at Invasion, and this was a pay-per-view that kicked it all off. It started fairly promising, I'd say. The Invasion pay-per-view, although not great, it was interesting. The problem is by the end of the night, it became very apparent that we were getting WWF versus WWF when Stone Cold Steve Austin joins the Alliance. It kind of just makes the whole thing pointless. But I remember as a kid, I was super excited for this match because I loved Rob Van Dam in ECW. I really liked Jeff Hardy as well. Maybe not as much as RVD, but I enjoyed him. The way they got to this match, I remember, this is all from memory, so hopefully I got it right, is Mike Awesome won the hardcore title off of Rhino backstage during a Raw, and then even though they were gonna push Mike Awesome as the hardcore champion, then they did like a complete 360. They took the belt off of Mike Awesome, gave it to Jeff Hardy, and then they had this match where RVD ended up winning and becoming kind of the staple of the hardcore division during the entire run of the Alliance and after that as well. Now, I know I said before that this was going to be like matches I had nostalgia for. I was kind of on the match. I remember I enjoyed it, but I also remember thinking, for some reason it didn't hold up well over time. In my head I thought, it was all right. But that's why we're going to do this. We're going to go back and watch it, which I just did, and we're going to go and review this match here. So this was RVD at his prime. Absolutely. I don't think you can see a better version of RVD than this, because this is right before they started watering him down and getting him to do more of a WWF style, which granted, long term that's a good idea because his body could not take this at all. Like essentially he was killing himself out there all the time with his style, so he toned it down a little bit, and I know he got a lot of heat. Now this is one of the dumb things of the match that I think, or at least came out of the match, because during the match he's very boastful. I mean, like he's not just doing the Rob Van Dam. He's supposed to be a heel, by the way, which I hated how all the Alliance people just automatically are heels. It's like, oh, you come into the company, you come in to fight WWF, and all of a sudden that means you're a bad guy. He was a bad guy, but he was kind of an interesting bad guy, because all the other goons in the Alliance army were just generic bad guys. They had no character, they had no charisma, they had nothing. But RVD would come in, and he was just he had an ego. So you see he come down, and he's like, yeah, I'm the best, like, look at me. And like when he would do like a bow when they're chanting for him, and he never did that ever again, because I guarantee the moment he got backstage, they were like, you're supposed to be a heel. Heels don't do that. Well, that's garbage, because go watch Ric Flair back in the day in his old classic matches in like NWA and whatnot. Like Ric Flair, I mean, he loved having people admire him and stroking his ego and feeding into him. And that's what RVD came off to me, but he never was that cocky ever again until he actually turned face well after the Alliance thing was done. I wish he'd kept that character. I wish he'd been more like this. And I mean, I think it was smarter that he toned everything down, his style, but goddamn, man, let's just get into it. He was stellar in this match. So Jeff Hardy's the champion going into this. RVD got a really nice pop when he came out. I loved this version of RVD's music more than One of a Kind. I felt like One of a Kind was too in your face, and this original theme, there's I know, it just felt cool. Like, it just felt really cool in the intro with the like, it was awesome. All right, so they both get into the ring. The first noteworthy thing is they are really going for spot. Like, during this match, it felt fairly even. It didn't feel like that they were shitting on one guy more than the other one. And I think that was by design. I think the point of this was to get RVD over. They probably weren't sure if he was gonna be over or not. That's why they gave him a hardcore title. But that's also why you never really saw one guy dominating the other one more so. Most of the time I would say this was like an RVD showcase where RVD is doing all of his, split-legged moonsault, his rolling thunder, all that stuff, and Jeff was just mostly doing like miscellaneous offense. Now he's getting a few of his things in, like his little like neck breaker thing or whatever the fuck, the jawbreaker, where he drops down to his ass. So match-wise, the very first thing I saw where I was like, that was pretty fucking cool, was Jeff went for a crossbody, and RVD, instead of dropping down to his stomach to avoid it, he simply just lowered, like he's so limber, he just lowered himself down. Really, I mean, and Jeff just barely missed him, and then RVD did a moonsault on the Jeff. I was like, God damn, that was pretty cool. Like, you didn't see RVD do that much after this match. They did the thing where, because one of Jeff's moves is Jeff Hardy would run the barricade on the outside and jump off into a clothesline to somebody. RVD jumped up onto the barricade and met him halfway and just pummeled him. And it just, to me, that showed Jeff is, if anything, outclassed, but at the very least, RVD is on par with Jeff Hardy in this match in terms of, kayfabe terms and whatnot. Although I would argue, I'm pretty sure RVD is a much better athlete than Jeff in real life, and that's not saying like that shit-talking Jeff. RVD is probably still one of the best athletes I've ever seen in professional wrestling, besides like a Kurt Angle or something. Like, RVD was in crazy good shape, and he just moved. Then they went and they did, the one spot they did where I went, oh my God, is RVD took a sunset flip powerbomb from inside the ring to the outside of the ring. He was on the apron and Jeff flung over and threw RVD down. Oh my God, that looked brutal. I forgot most of this match. So most of this was new to me again. Damn, that looked like that hurt a lot. My least favorite spot of the entire match was the ladder spot. So RVD's down from that powerbomb. Jeff goes and he grabs the ladder, this huge ladder, for no fucking reason. There's no reason why this ladder would be out here. Jeff grabs it, and I know it's a hardcore match, and the idea is pinfalls count anywhere, you can use whatever you want. But Jeff starts climbing up. What is Jeff's goal? Because when somebody's on the outside, Jeff puts him on a table, and then he can crash through him, and the idea is that, the impact is kind of lessened because he's not only going through the guy, he's going through the table too, so it cushions him, so he's not dead. If Jeff tried to hit his finisher, the Swanton Bomb, from the top of that ladder to RVD on the outside, he would kill himself just as much as RVD. So, I mean, it's just logically, it was stupid. RVD gets up while Jeff's at the top, goes into the ring, he pushes it over. Jeff takes a pretty awesome looking bump, but to me, it was just like, why? It was that was one of their problems. I remember. I'm probably not going to do a review, but I remember their SummerSlam rematch. A lot of things were like, why? Like, they didn't really have psychology. That was the only really, really stupid spot, and it was highlighted by JR going, "Learn to fall. You can teach them how to learn to fall." Yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit, something like that. And that was a clip that you hear like in WWE all the time. Like, they can't teach you how to fall like that. Spoiler alert, I went to wrestling school for a short period of time, Jim. They teach you how to fall off ladders. I'm just throwing it out there. They literally do teach you how to fall in every situation. So yes, even though it probably hurt a lot, they do teach you how to fall. I mean, like, you're supposed to roll with the impact, and if you watch Jeff, he did that. He rolled with it. I'm sure it still hurt like a bitch, but it didn't kill him like it would if he just flat out bumped onto the concrete. They went, then that led to a spot where RVD took Jeff, or he grabbed a chair and he came over to Jeff, and he went to go hit him, and he took oh man, Jeff threw the ladder into RVD, and it looked like he got him right in the face. It looked great. Even if RVD covered up, I don't know. Looked good. Jeff has the chair. He's whacking RVD in the back. They're getting up to this weird ramp. Like, I remember this ramp was terrible because it had, like, the Invasion, it had the two separate entrances. So I get that. That was cool. But the wrestlers were constantly almost falling into this pit during their entrances. But RVD is taking chair shots. They get to this little, like, indent in the entrance, and it's just like a big dip down to the concrete, maybe like 4 or 5 feet. And then Jeff goes to hit RVD with the chair, and he hits him with the Van Daminator. It looked beautiful. Really good. But very dumb, because RVD jumps down. This is one of RVD's finishers. He jumps down in, pulls Jeff, and he throws him out. But he doesn't pin him. Like, and then he's starting to take him halfway down the ramp, and then he remembers, and he pins him, but it's too late, obviously kicked out. Just from, like, a kayfabe point of view, RVD looked like a moron. Went back into the ring. They're about to wrap it up. RVD took an amazing DDT. It's one of the things I still say, he was the absolute best at taking DDTs. He just plants himself and he flies up in the air. looks beautiful, takes a sick looking German suplex. I mean, he just landed right on his neck and his shoulders. Ouch. And then we just got to the finish. Jeff had RVD laid out. He went up and tried to do a swanton. RVD moved out of the way. RVD throws the title on top of Jeff Hardy and gives probably the best looking frog splash he has ever done in his entire career. You can tell RVD was hyped for this match. Like, RVD wanted to make a statement. And, overall, I think that this was better than my memory of it. My memory of it was not very good. I mean, I remember back in the day, I was so hyped for this match because I love both these guys so much that it really suffered over time. But yet, going back and watching it, man, it was pretty fucking good. And I really liked the fact, because this was a hardcore match, I liked the fact that it wasn't just two guys in the ring or outside the ring just pummeling each other with weapons. Because, I mean, there's a time and place for that. But they used, a chair, a ladder, and they used the hardcore title, and that's it. They didn't use other weapons. They essentially just used them for certain spots, and it made it more of a fun, traditional match mixed with hardcore elements. So it was pretty good. From a rating standpoint, I would give this one a 4, like a high 4 out of 5 mat faces. I did quite enjoy it. I thought that it was pretty fun, but I remember the SummerSlam match was awful. But hey, maybe because I thought it was bad, I'll have to go back and try to give it a view. But I'm curious, what are you guys' thoughts on this? Did you agree that WWE pulled back Van Dam's character a bit and didn't make him so? They didn't make him just such an ego asshole. He kind of layered it back. And after this, they dropped the ball with him big time because he was so over. And I remember he had heat backstage because he had matches with Kurt Angle and he busted him open. And Angle basically did some politics and stuff. And I remember that RVD was in the doghouse for a while, but man, they missed the boat with RVD early on. They ended up kind of helping him a little bit later and using him the right way, but he never quite gained the popularity I think he could have had. I mean, he could have been a main event player. Also, weed probably stopped him a lot. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Jeff Hardy versus Rob Van Dam for the hardcore title at the Invasion pay-per-view? Let me know in the comments down below. If there are other matches that you would like for me to go back that are on the network, go back and see. It doesn't have to be WWF or WWE. It could be anything they have on there. If there's something you think that I would specifically like, let me know. I do know I'm going to be watching a really old one in the near future. And I think you guys are going to be surprised by it. But either way, let me know what you thought about this one, and we'll see you on the next episode.